October, November, December.
Because everything now you, anything I do,
we will be the best.
Enjoy when I want to cry.
Of everything we have always wished to be. Good morning and welcome to Home Affairs here on Joy 99.7 FM. My name is Adam Knight Day. Home Affairs is brought to us by Unique Insurance. We're paying all minor motor insurance claims within 2 hours. And Genomax, Obia when it tastes. So yes, we're on your radio this morning. Like we always are, every Saturday morning. You're tuned into Home Affairs. And this morning we say we're having the silent conversation. We're giving that silent conversation voice today. And people have been wondering, what is the silent conversation? You will get to know in a bit. See me trying to give the silent conversation a voice and fumbling all over the place. If you have been listening, around town, radio, television, the conversations around, then you would have heard a lot of talk, diverse opinions, agitations, about comprehensive sexuality education. What's all that about? But yes, our focus this morning, this is Home Affairs, so our focus this morning isn't really going to be about everything that's going on, in the media, the drama, all that. No, that really isn't our focus. We're bringing it home. We're wondering why conversations about sex and sexuality raise such stern eyebrows. I am wondering, isn't sexuality education about measures and strategies adopted from early human life, which is consistent with the sexual growth and development of our children?
7FM.
Under the guidance of parents, caregivers, and even guardians? Is sexuality education not about, the basic fundamental purpose of sexual awareness? Does it not contribute to the development of the sexual behaviors and healthy practices of our children when it comes to sex and sexuality? Isn't it also about the fulfillment of sexual duties, continuity and survival of generations, as well as peace and friendship? Like I said, I am just wondering about all of these. So why then is it such a difficult subject to discuss? Do children not have a right to holistic and age-appropriate education? If they do, is it exclusive of sexuality education? Why is it such a big fat deal to talk about these things? Why do parents shy away from these conversations with their children? Does it not do more harm than good to be quiet about these things? Really really, where is the difficulty coming from? Why would we rather be quiet about it? I really, really, really would want to understand from you out there why the talk around sex and sexuality should rather be a very silent conversation. Parents won't have these conversations with their children, but they expect that children, get to know about it somehow. Like I said, all the conversations and all the noise and all the agitation and all the worry in the media, yes, it's important, but we would want to see to it this in the home, because it begins from the home. Before that child turns 4 or 5, that child starts growing in your arms at home. What is your responsibility towards this child, even before they are exposed to all the things that we think we're afraid of? Where do we start from? Even if we want to really, where do we start from? Are we even adequately prepared as parents to even start having these conversations with our children? And I guess the main worry is that, okay, if I have to, what do I say? Where do I start from? Because right from childhood, we're giving pet names even to all, our reproductive organs, and you're wondering, at what age do I even start telling them that this is the right name and what? It's just I think it's a difficult subject, but it's important. For me, that's what I think. It's important that we have these conversations, and my guests are here in the studio with me. We're going to be passionate about it, but also very objective about it, to see where we as parents, caregivers, homemakers and guardians, starting from home, where is our responsibility when it comes to all, and then also to find out what our fears are really. Why do we not talk about them? 0244340437 is my WhatsApp line. I'd like to hear from you, and hopefully on 0302216541 we will activate the phone lines, and then you can contribute as well. But right now, I have a case study, so I will just speak to her briefly on the phone. Hello, good morning, Baba Tando. How are you?
Hi, Adam. I'm good.
Great. Baba is with us here at the Multimedia Group. She's a sports journalist, but she is a mother of 2 now. And yesterday when we were having this conversation at the mall, we have Joy at the mall, right? Let me just wrap that one in quickly. We started yesterday. Today we are at the Junction Mall. Tomorrow we will be there. It's a family time, so come by with all the children, every member of your family. There's something for everybody there. So come by from 11 a.m. Today we are there all through to, till you drop, and then tomorrow as well. Okay, Baba.
Hi, Adam.
How are you?
I'm okay.
How are your girls doing?
They're fine.
Great. Yesterday you shared some very interesting insights with us. Especially so, how you learned, how you were introduced to sexuality education. And I just would like you to share with, our listeners.
Okay, Adam. I wasn't introduced to sexuality education from home.
At all?
At all, no. So, my dad has never, ever since I was born, spoken to me about sex. Nothing about sex education from my dad at all. And, I wouldn't know the reason, but I am sure probably he didn't even want to start. I'm just guessing. I haven't asked him why he never spoke to me about it, but I'm just guessing that he didn't want to preempt anything, and he didn't want to probably put certain thoughts in my head. And there comes my mom. My mom has spoken to me in my entire life about sexual education just once. And this is how it happened. We were asked to bring a mashed yam or mashed plantain, the local food called eto.
Yes.
My chi teacher asked me, and he asked us to bring eto to school, because on that day we were going to learn about Dipo, the traditional,
Hang on, Baba. What age was this?
Oh, this was when I was in about JHS 1. So
Okay,
I'll
so
take it
12,
like
13 thereabouts.
12, 13 thereabout, yes. So we were asked to bring the Eto to school. So I told my mom about it, and then she prepared it for me, and then I took to school. When I came back home that evening, my dad was asleep, and then she asked me, "Nti Echo school no, Eto na Echo school no, Echo no what's it then?" Literally meaning with this mashed yam or potato that you mashed yam or plantain that you took to school, what did they tell you about it, about this whole depot thing? Then I said, oh, they said that we should stay, we are too young to engage in sex, we should stay away from sex, and that if we don't do that, we'll get pregnant, we'll stay out of school, we'll drop out of school, and our whole life will become jeopardized. Then she said, "Nche etima wakeno." You heard what they said. I said yes. That's the beginning and the end of my sexual education with my mom too. So I mean, everything sexual education I know, I've learned either in school or from from life. Basically, that's it. And my dad actually never mentioned it to me, but he expected that I knew about it. I followed all the do's and don'ts religiously and judiciously, and I wasn't going to get myself into any trouble. That was just it.
Wow. And I'm sure that is what pertains in a lot of homes. Now, so, I mean, let's come to you now. You have two girls, I
Mm-hmm.
guess 4 and 3 or 5 and 4.
5 and 3.
Okay, 5 and 3, great. Um, have you started having any conversations of any sort with them at all?
Okay, so this is what Mamiaraba and Irifa know. I have told them, we have. I'm sure every parent has a coded, name for,
Yeah, pet
the private
names.
parts in conversations with their kids. Exactly. So they know that your PP is private and nobody must see it whatsoever. When you're sitting down, you've got to sit down well. You don't even show your panty to anybody at all. So they
Okay.
understand that. So even when, excuse me to say, even when I am at home with them and I'm seated in a certain way and I'm quite explicit, be like, "Mommy, cover your panty. Don't show your panty to anybody. We don't want to see it. Cover it." So that is how we have started. And I think this will come in stages. So at this stage, they know and they understand and they have accepted that nobody must see your PP. Nobody needs to see your panty. It's for you and just you.
All right.
Next stage, we progress, and then we make headway.
All right, Baba. Just before you go,
Mm-hmm.
so you didn't have any of these conversations at home with your parents, just this ones you talked about.
Yes.
Did they affect you in any way?
Um. So my dad was a military man. You know how it is like growing up in the house of a military man, somebody who started in the 64 battalion. So you know that it's like it's a crazy one. So I mean, he won't tell you, but from what you've heard around, you know what it is. So you've got to behave yourself very, very, very well. And I mean, I think that the conversation didn't really have much to do with me, but it was just about the strictness at home. It was just about, how whatever I knew was going to happen if I've gone contrary to everything I was supposed to do or not supposed to do. So I don't think that one affected me much. It was just about, the upbringing, whatever training I was giving at home that actually molded me and shaped me into what I am today. But I mean, whether we had that conversation or not, I didn't
So
engage in
why do
that.
you think it's important for you to have this conversation with your children and
Adam, the world is
progress?
changing. The world is evolving. I mean, you wake up daily to stories of rape, to stories of, child molestation, sexually, and all of that. And it is becoming scary. And touch you 10 times, 20 times, 100 times. This is not going to happen to my children, your children, or any other person's children. But I mean, it is only okay that once the world is changing, you've got to, change your ways to be able to, to fit in, or to be able to stand out. Let me put it that way. So, I mean, it's only fair that you let your children know about this. I mean, when I was growing up, when I was my children's age, I'm not sure we're hearing. They were there, but we're not hearing, them that much. I shared this experience with you. My great grandma died. I think I was very young at the time. I think I was that was also early days in JHS or so. And then at the funeral grounds, like family, everybody is the extended family and all of that. And someone tried. He just said, "Hey, Branamen Kasemcho, come let me tell you something." And then when I came, this was a photographer. When I came, he started touching me for my legs and all of that. I was up the stairs and he was down. I kicked him out through the holes of the stairs and just ran up. I couldn't go and tell anybody because I didn't know what was going to happen. That thing where when you go and say, they'll be like, you're a bad child, you're a bad girl and all of that, and you might end up getting beaten and all of that. I didn't tell anybody. But at least I made sure that nothing happened to me, and then I ran out. And you're the first person I'm telling this today. Nobody knows about this because I didn't want any problem. Yeah, I don't want to be labeled in any way and all of that. And I grew up in a home like that. I didn't want any of that labeling or, punishment for something I haven't done, and for me doing the right thing by kicking the guy through the staircase and through the holes in the staircase and running away. So, I mean, it's like I don't want this to happen. And these days, the kids, they are exposed even before they grow up. How that happens, I do not know. So you are better safe than sorry. You introduce them gradually to the topic, and then you know that at least you have given them some foundation, some protection, and then they can carry it through the rest of their life.
Thank you very much, Baba, for sharing your experiences with us this morning. We very much appreciate it.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you. So that was Baba Tando, a sports journalist with us here at the Multimedia Group. I just had to make her share so we all know that. I mean, if I'm asking a lot of people to share, I'm sure we will have a lot of people tell us that, yes, these conversations are never had. So really, is it important to start having them now? Why should we bother at all? You heard her reasons for starting off with her, 5 and 3-year-old girls. Let me turn to my guest in the studio right now. Sefam Lord Mensah. Sefam, good morning.
Good morning, Adam.
How are you?
I'm good. Yourself?
I am well, thank you. Welcome to the family.
Thank you.
And then I have Auntie Edith Asari Mensah. Auntie Edith, good morning.
Good morning.
3 weeks back to back in a row. We can't have these conversations without inviting you.
Yeah.
So once again, thank you for coming.
Thank you too.
For cutting your sleeve short. 3 weeks, not easy. And then our very good old friend Bright Appiah. Sefam is an educationist. Auntie Edith is with the Ghana Health Service, and then Bright Appiah is a child activist. Bright, good morning.
Good morning.
It's been so long.
Yes, I'm around.
Where have you been? I hear you around, but haven't seen you in a bit. Okay, great. You're all welcome.
Yeah,
Thank you.
All right. So, like I said, this conversation is actually, our month of September, we dedicated it to back to school. Children are going back to school. So we've been talking about, and we talked about the preschoolers. We went on to talk about the continuing children. Last week we had, students from the university come share their experiences with us. And then this week, this whole news became, all over the place. And I'm sure the conversation is going to go on. It's not ending anytime soon. But then I want us to bring it home to end our, back to school month, because it's all in line with, children going back to school. But bring this one home, really. Our focus will not be on what's in, the curriculum or the conversations around it. But these things start from home. So I want us to, have the conversation as parents and as people who care about the development, the holistic development, let me put it that way, of our children. So you've also heard Baba's point. Maybe generally, let me know what you think. Bright, you have been in this, sector for so long. You had Baba's experience with her parents. Baba is not too old, so this is not like, some stone age thing. But finding out from the things you hear around, does this still pertain that a lot of parents and guardians and caregivers shy away from these conversations?
Absolutely.
parents find it very difficult to discuss issues of sexuality with their children. And for me, I wonder why it is so. Because it's something that is part of the development of children, which you cannot take away from it.
Yeah.
So if you think that you are providing services for your children, for their good image, for the future, then one thing that you can also take out is the issue of sex education for them to understand themselves better. Because I believe that when a child is well informed, they take very good decisions. And one of the issues that we are confronted with is the issue of sex and how people or children take decisions around that. In my work, I've realized that a lot of children lack that aspect of it. Therefore, when things happen to them, one, they are not able to ascertain the issue. Two, they find it very difficult to report the matter to their parent because they feel that there's no relationship. You've not even discussed it with me. So what is the basis for me to walk up to you and say that this is what I'm confronted with? Yes, I'm confronted with. So they keep things to themselves, and either they complain or report to their peers, or a teacher who they know that has taken them through that kind of education, or somebody they trust and all that. So you realize that parents are really shying away from the principle of integrating this whole issue of sexual education into how they bring children up. And the irony also is that I don't understand why parents would even want to use certain words to describe a particular thing. I don't know where we adopted that from. Probably because of the cultural system that we have. So you will see children describing situations from different angles, but pointing to the same thing, which of course they are just names that children need to know. Because I believe that when a child knows certain things, they take decisions for themselves. So if they are not aware of it, a lot of things happen to them, and that has brought us this far. There are instances where we've had education with children, and they ask you a question. So, my father sleeping with me, is it a crime? So, which probably for her, she doesn't. First of all, she doesn't know anything about sexual education. So whatever the father does with her, it's okay, until the children get to know of the information, they are able to use it. And some parents also deliberately do that because of the ill motive that they have, especially when it comes to men, and then those who live with their uncles, the single parent and all that, especially where the male is involved. So it's a whole lot of complex things that we have to deal with. But for me, you cannot take away sex education from the home and place it anywhere.
Yeah.
The fundamental must be
from the home.
From the home. So if we are lacking that, then that's going to be a problem. And for me, irrespective of if the home is not able to do it, and you transfer it to any other environment, there are consequences that we also need to face there. So parents must take up the responsibility. But unfortunately, that's the case. Yes.
All right. How did it? It's a sad one, isn't it?
Yeah, very, very sad. Good morning to our listeners. And I've been tracking the responses from parents and people on Facebook about introduction of sexual education or sexuality in our education. I believe our children need to be brought up holistically. We only talk about the education, learn well and don't do that. We are all victims. We were not exposed early. And we didn't have that parent interaction in sexuality. But one way or the other, we had it through other means, through friends. Because yesterday I was interacting with one of the children and I asked her, so what do you know about it? I said, oh, mommy, these things, if parents don't teach their children, they will go to teach. And you can keep your child in the room for about 24 hours. But the media is also informing them, especially when they are exposed to phones and all those technology. So I believe we need to look at the age specific and then introduce. For me, going through the content of sexuality education in schools, I really appreciated it because when you look, it's in models. It talks about a whole lot of things, values, development, human rights, and all those things. And it depends on who is teaching and what they are teaching. Because as a result of teaching, some may use these children as exploit, and it's very, very bad. So as parents, we need to, because we leave home very early, come late. What goes on with the children is also another thing. And I had a video that has gone viral where a teacher was having sex with this young lady. She's about 10 years. And for her, she really saw it as it's a normal thing. So anyone else that comes to do it, she will appreciate it. And it's very bad. Maybe the parents leaves home early. Oh, teacher, take care of my child for me. And this child is sent to the school under the care of the teacher. And this teacher and the child has become real a boy and or they are in a relationship. So I believe we need to, whether we like it or no, we need to, but the content matters and who is teaching it. And at the age we are introducing. It doesn't mean when we talk about sexuality education in schools, we are talking about how to have sex and all those things. It cuts across. It's a whole concept they are looking, and it's in models. I've taken time to go through. So they were looking at age-specific education to give award time. And I believe we'll get somewhere. Currently, the Ghana Health Service is also championing it. And I think it will go a long way to help children because many of them don't have voices to speak, like he's saying. So when it happens to them, they don't know who to talk about. And people have used that, taking advantage of these children, and even at their age. There was a video also that gone viral when a parent, a father, was breaking the virginity of her daughter, of his daughters. And it's very bad. These children cannot talk about it. They want to be out. But when I go out to talk about it, they'll tell me, I'm a bad girl. Why should you bring the... And I believe, following what the video portrays, you realize that the mother also has a consent to it. So it's something we need to look at. For me, I started very early because I started work early when I started giving birth to children. I tell them, even when daddy touches your whatever, we have our local names for it, make noise. Of course, he didn't do it.
Even our laws, the relationship between a father and a female child is regulated. You know, you can, there are limits to the
What
extent
you
to which you
can
can
do.
go.
Exactly. For instance, if you leave home early and you say, oh, please take care of, make sure they bath and go to school, you are on the schedule that you cannot be in the house to take care of them in the morning. Of course, it's the man that will take care, but doing that, he takes advantage. So, in quotes, it's not all fathers. He didn't do it anyway.
But that's so crazy.
He didn't do it. And I don't know what is all about these children that attracts them. And when you hear the cases, you find out, why would he take advantage of this young child?
They're sick.
Yes. It's just, I think we have a lot of psychopaths in the system.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay, so yeah, Auntie, like I said, I really wouldn't want us to focus much on the, the curriculum and all that's in there, because people have diverse opinions to these things. I mean, Stefan and I yesterday had like an hour's conversation around this, and so because we're sitting in the home, we want to look at where to start this off with children, even to find out, is it important at all? And you have agreed it's important. Bright says it's important. I think so. Stefan, what do you think?
So, with everything happening and the feedback coming, I guess the word that is scaring most parents is the comprehensive in this whole thing. Because sex education is not just about teaching the child about the private part. You are pre-informing the child about his or her developmental stages for which that child would experience. So self-awareness, bodily changes, sexuality, and the things to expect, and how to carry yourself, self-esteem, all these things are embedded in sex education. So as a parent, if you are not educating yourself or giving out that positive information to your child, you are doing that child a disservice. Because where is he or she going to get that information from? If you don't tell your child, because sometimes when they are little and they are bathing together, maybe 3 years or 2.5, you notice that they tend to look at themselves, thinking that, okay, mine looks different from the other. In fact, that is even a premise or an avenue for you as a mother to start. And as they age, then you start giving them space. But if you keep quiet and you don't say anything about it, and you give it
and especially so when they come asking questions.
Exactly.
The moment they start asking questions, then you should know that something has gone out somewhere, meaning they have an information that they don't want to tell you about, but they want to find out whether you are going to give them the information or not. So for me, like issues of incest, issues of external family taking advantage of children in the house because they live in a compound or they live in the same household. And you notice that most of the sexual crimes committed are committed by people that live in the same household with a family.
People who are close to them.
Very close.
Drivers and, all those.
And because everything has been taken, like laissez-faire, children are... nakedness in front of everyone, they are naked, so as they are developing, their body changes, and the uncle or the cousin is there watching him or her, the breast is coming, and or she, and parents don't even make any effort of telling, no, take care of yourself, cover up. These are the things you are supposed to wear around. This is what this means. What you are witnessing about yourself, this is what it means. These are the things you are supposed to do. If you don't have any idea or so ever, and you leave them as if they are free-range animals, we are going to have issues.
Why do parents shy away from these conversations? Why is the difficulty?
Oh, Ede. In fact, our culture doesn't permit us to
so
talk
it's
about
cultural.
this. Yes, it's
It's
cultural.
a social orientation.
Yes, so we are told not to talk about this because once you started, you are introducing the child. We all have different opinions. So it means you are telling the
They are
child to go
bringing
and
their
do
mind
it.
to something.
But then as you give the information, you caution
That's right.
Okay.
and then them know that it doesn't give them the free will to go out doing
And
it.
experience.
Because for me, I was told by my father that if a man has sex, I will be pregnant, and then I can't continue my education. But that alone wasn't enough. Exactly. But that fear was in me. So even before I broke my virginity, it was very difficult for me.
But you see, that is, for me, working with children, that is where I see the danger, where sex education is taught in a manner that puts fear in children. And we have also limited the whole discussion on sex education to be a sexual intercourse affair. So there's a limitation in terms of what families can provide. But I strongly believe that sex education goes beyond that, if you look at the definition of what sex is. So we have built our cultural concept around the issue of that sexual intercourse, but not necessarily about sex education. And that is what families need to break. Because if you take time to educate the child on sex based on the development age of the child, then before you get to the level where you discuss issues of sexual intercourse, the child is well informed to understand the context in which you are placing it. So we have to, it's just a matter of we changing the approach in terms of how we want to teach. When we were in school,
do we even know it?
That's the difficulty.
So,
And if you go to advanced countries, what they do is that if they realize that parent lacks certain information, then they will put in the form of a legislation, but place it in the context of the family. Because my argument is that you cannot take away sex education from the home. It will be dangerous to place the fundamental of sex education in the classroom.
yeah.
There are consequences that we can face, because Madam also made mention of something that it depends on who is teaching and the orientation of the person who is teaching the child. So if we lose that fundamental for the child to be able to ask questions based on the orientation of the teacher who is teaching it, then that becomes an issue that would help the child to even know that whether the teacher is teaching it right or wrong. And there is something that I also want to say, that look, parents should not take children for granted. There are certain instances that when children walk up to you with a question, you should not take it for granted. One, when they return back from school and they ask you a question, don't take it for granted. When they return from Sunday school or the mosque and they ask you questions, don't take it for granted. Or when they go out and they come back and ask you certain questions, you should not take it for granted. There are things that people have told them. All that they want is a confirmation as to whether it is right or it is wrong. So we should not take that space for granted.
Great.
So yesterday I was sharing something with you, with my second daughter. She's 10. She came back from school. She's in the Red Cross club, and they are raising funds for 2019 HIV walk. So she had her card and she was giving it to me. So I was like, what is this for? She said, they said we should give it to our parents or friends. And I said, but you need to let me know what this course is about. Do you have any idea what it is? She kept quiet. Then I said, okay, I'm going to give you some hours. Come back and give me a presentation. If you're able to do that, then I'll decide whether I'll give you the money or not. So later in the evening, after everything, she said, Mommy, okay, I now know. Then I said, okay, come on. Then she's like, okay, you are trying to raise funds to support HIV or AIDS patient because the drugs they take are very expensive. Then I said, really? So what is HIV or AIDS? She said, Mommy, when you're addicted to sex, then you can have HIV. Then I said, wow. Then I'm sure most adults around are having AIDS or HIV. Then my 8-year-old was like, no. HIV is when you sleep with somebody that is infested with a disease. Then their big sister was said, okay, when you have multiple sex partners and you don't control yourself, you have the tendency.
Well, you have 3 girls.
3, two girls and a boy.
Okay.
So the boy is the A. So you see, the 3, they all have bits and pieces of this information. So I was like, wow. When were you taught this? I was taught this in grade 4. Meaning our schools are already empowered to do this. But for us, parents in the house, for me, I know sex education, it happens. But because you don't know, like Bryce said, it is not just about intercourse or sexuality alone. It's about the developmental stages of that child. If your 10-year-old or 9-year-old start developing the upper parts and the sweat glands, you notice that the sense, it has changed and certain things are in place. It is your duty as a mother or a father to start educating that child of yours. It's all about sex education. But like we are all discussing, the moment they mention the word sex, what comes in is the
kids die.
Oh, the what goes on in the bedroom.
But that's actually the last stage.
That is the last bit.
It's even the last stage.
Self-esteem. If you are, I said something to you yesterday. If you are not secured and you don't have trust, you start have issues with what? Self-esteem. And self-esteem has no age limit. You can be as old as 40 and have low self-esteem, as young as 8, and your self-esteem is this high. It is because of the information that you have and how you've used that information to process yourself, to take good care of yourself, know that, okay, I am empowered. That is what education does. Education is to move you to make informed decisions, to take good care of yourself. But if you're not able to do that, then I'm sorry. So for me, if sex is being left in the hands of school, for school, it will be standardized. But you are the one living with the children in your house. And the boys, some will not break their voices, yet they are aging. Some will not have the acne on their faces, yet they are aging in emotional development. They are aging with the feelings they are having. They want to touch themselves. They want to do this. For which in psychology, which I don't want to go so deep into it, have stages. The psychologists will tell you that in the child's life, they have 5 or 6 developmental stages, where each child needs to transit positively from each stage to the other. And if this is not done properly, that is where we have issues, cycles, because they are fixated. That is the word. They are so skewed into a certain level or stage in their lives, and they can't get away with it. And so they come with all kinds of issues at the office, in the house, in the society. They have issues. So as parents, our mandate is that we need to do parenting right, so that when our children transit to wherever they need to go, they are informed and will make the good decisions.
For me, I am sure that every parent would admit that, yes, or every parent would want their child to turn out well. You'd want the best for them. They wish that, they had everything it takes to educate their children the way. I'm sure some parents, even if they had what it for all it's worth, they would even want to educate their children at home, like homeschool their children, because you want to protect them and all that. So I'm thinking the bigger conversation is, okay, so we all agree that we need to take our children through these things, have these conversations. And ensure that they are empowered. They know when to run, they know when to scream, they know when to say yes and when to say no. And actually, yesterday I was sharing with you, I mean, the next line of conversation with my children is, don't put anybody's happiness before yours. Really. Not in a negative sense, but somebody wants to have a certain relationship with you. If you're not comfortable with it, you shouldn't second guess it. You should be outright with it and let the person understand that I don't want to have this kind of conversation with you. But even for adults, people, very old people, we've had these conversations on drive time, where even in the office you have people making advances at you and you find it difficult to even tell the person that I am not comfortable with it. And so you kind of endure it somehow, you know. That's the next level. That's a different conversation. So my big issue is, where do we start this from as parents? Where is the basis? Because it looks like the problem is we would want to, but it's difficult. We don't even know where to start from. What do we say? At what age? It has to be age appropriate. It has to be in a certain context, even before they go to school. What do we start telling them, and from what age? Just think through it a little bit. But let me remind our listeners, whilst my guest think through where to start this from and what to say. How do we progress this conversation? Obia when it tastes though, whatever your favorite food is, be it authentic Ghana jollof, delicious light soup, or that special stew your family and friends love you for. Give it a touch with the new Gino Max 12 gram seasoning cubes with 3 varieties: Gino Max shrimp with herbs and spices, Gino Max shrimp, or Gino Max shrimp with pepper. Obia when it is Gino Max seasoning cubes. That's a flavor to satisfy everyone. Gino truly cares. And Riverman Productions, in partnership with Joy FM and National Theatre, shows its brand new original Igbo white play titled Not My Husband. It is said that one person's trash is another's treasure, one person's poison is another's meat. So when you question and reject your man's love, can you complain when another lady finds him as the answer to her prayers? For Alice, Obed's love was never enough. For Jackie, that love is all she's been praying for. How can Alice reclaim the love she's rejected, especially now that her very life depends on it? Not My Husband shows at the National Theatre, 5th, 6th, 12th and 13th October at 4 p.m. and 8 p.m. each day. Ticket outlets: Joy FM, Shell Shops at Airport, Dansuman, Sakaman, East Legon, Achimota and Tema Community 11, Bachona and Hacho Total, Motorway Supermarket, Gold Shops at 37 Sakaman and Mile 7, Frankie's at Osu, and Quick and Fine Supermarket opposite UPSC at Medina. You may also buy your tickets through Ticket House, the official ticket partner, via shortcode star 713 star 15 hash, star 713 star 15 hash, or bond on star 876 star 876 hash.
Joy 99.7 FM.
Make further
Joy
inquiries.
99.7 FM.
Make further inquiries by calling 050-554-6010 or WhatsApp 050-554-60330 or email tickets@rivermanproductions.com. Not My Husband is sponsored by Bond Savings and Loans, Old Mutual and Passion Air. Media partners are Joy FM, Adom FM, Hits FM, Joy News, Joy Prime, Adom TV, myjoyonline.com, adomonline.com, primenewsgh.com, pulsegh.com, ghanaweb.com, Gold Street Business, Daily Guide, B&FT, Logistics Movers, DDP Outdoor, and Web Soft Solutions. Buy your tickets for Not My Husband now. Riverman Productions, be the difference. And again, if you missed this, I'm telling you that Obia when it tastes, whatever your favorite food is, be it authentic jollof, Ghana jollof, delicious light soup, or that special stew that your family and friends love you for, give it a touch with the new Gino Max 12 grams seasoning cubes with 3 varieties. Gino Max shrimp with herbs and spices, Gino Max shrimp or Gino Max shrimp with pepper. Ubia when it tastes Gino Max seasoning cubes, that's a flavor to satisfy everyone. Gino truly cares. So where do we start this conversation from? Where do we start from? Granted that, okay, all parents are on board. Yes, we want to do this. But it's such a difficult subject. We have pet names for, the sex organs. Like Baba said, you call it PP. People
dots.
call it something and everything. And Bryce doesn't think we should say that, even from the beginning. I remember the first time my children came to me and said, okay, mommy, is the actual name... we used to call it Titi. Is the actual name Titi? And I said, no. So what is the actual name? And I said, okay, it's called vagina. My son was there. At the time, I think he was 6. Hey, he laughed and laughed and laughed and laughed. And was like, what kind of name is that? And interestingly, that was the first time he was hearing it. What kind of name is that? Then he'll go and come back. He'll laugh and he'll say, vagina. I had to bring him back and go like, okay, so this is not like drinking water. You don't just go about saying it like that. Yeah. No. That is how come it is private. It is hidden. So you only say it when it is necessary. Then he burst out laughing again. And I'm like, okay, did I do anything wrong?
I did.
So now, when you teach them to, when you wee, you dab. So when you wee dab, I go like, so what? Now from then on, they go and use the bathroom and they come and they go like, oh, mommy, I dabbed my vagina. And I dabbed, I'm like, hey, God. And then their father said,
it's funny, but then
their father said,
a good start.
Oh, I don't know, Faye.
It's a good start.
That's what their father
because if we have the body part, you can. Yeah. I'm not sure if you are telling a child that this is your nose. It's so difficult for you to do that, or this is your eyes and whatever. So why it is so difficult
to say
for you to say those things to children, and that is where the myth are. But you see, in the developmental stages of children, you need to recognize that, and it's purely technical.
Yeah.
But parents, somehow God has blessed them with that kind of knowledge, the insight to know that at this stage I have to do this, I have to do that. That's why I always make the argument that if any person who wants to give birth must be a prepared person, elsewhere it is a policy that at least there are certain fundamental things that once you're pregnant and you go to the hospital, they need to take you through to understand certain fundamentals, so that when you give birth to the child, you know how to handle. You are not lost. But here is a case where you go to the hospital, the only thing that would ask you to do is to go to your medicals, check the state of the woman, just because they want you to give birth to a healthy child, and that ends it. We are not allowed to take you through all these parenting issues, and even when the child comes, how you should handle it. So we are lost in terms of the basic thing that
so
we
require. So it even starts before you become a parent.
Of course, right. It should even start before you become a parent. But beyond that, I feel that sometimes too, we don't really understand the developmental stages, which is purely psychological. So when a child gets to 3, what does the child need to know about life, about his sexual activities? When the child gets to 5, when it gets to 7, 8, then enter the recognition zone, where the child must be exposed to certain things that are so fundamental, because it's a period that when children misses that recognition zone, they will define it to themselves and they begin to apply it. And when they're applying it and they're not getting answers, then they feel that whatever they feel that is right, that is what society must accept.
Yeah.
And if you also don't recognize that and you want to approach it with this kind of radical approach, there will be a resistance. And when that resistance comes and develops to a certain stage, then children will not even listen to you at all.
Because seriously, where were you when I was forming all of these?
Exactly.
Ooh.
So for me, let's purely look at it from when children can develop, what goes with that development, what information goes with that development, then gradually we get to a level where we begin to expose them to the real issues. And I believe that at that stage, they'll be well informed and appreciate the context in which you are saying it. So those are the things that for me we should recognize. Because telling a child at the age of 3 that this is a sexual intercourse, the understanding will not be there.
Great. Yes, Stefan.
Even at the age of 3, what is your business even telling a child that this is sexual intercourse? Because he or she is now forming. Potty training and all these things are happening at the same time. So for you, and they are self-centered, those ages. What they want is what they are craving for. They don't care wherever you are from 0. That is why when you have a child and you are in public and the child wants to feed, he or she does not care whether you are in public or not. I want my food. I want gratification, and that is what I want. But then, like Adam said, if you use the washroom, dap. Why are you saying the child should dap? So you go ahead to teach the child that yes, because of health reasons, is a waste that you are passing. So make sure that it does not stay there. And because you are going to wear your panty again, you dap well so that that place is not moist enough, because you don't want to get any infection or whatsoever. So you see, you've gone ahead to give the health reason, and it's a sex education, all right. True. And you are teaching that child.
Yeah.
So the child is young, but you have started on that premise. And then when they start identifying and noticing the differences between a boy and a girl, you also explain what makes you a boy and what makes you a girl. It is the genital that defines you to be a boy, and that defines you. Some people would argue, because we have all kinds of theories going about that. If I don't even talk about the genital of the child, the child is not a male or a female, whatever. That is also another story altogether. But yes, and then based in cultural context. So you see, our cultural context also plays a role in here. For example, when you said the parts and he went about saying it all over the place, then you come and say, hey, look here. The fact that I have taught you this is the right name for the place doesn't mean that every speech of yours, every word, it comes out like that.
Yeah.
So in as much as you are teaching the child to be assertive with positive information, you have to teach the child to be positively assertive in nature, that he or she will know when and how to say things at the right time. So you see, you are teaching the child the health-wise, you are teaching the child the differentiation about the genitals, and you move on. So the child notices that, okay, I'm a girl based on this is what I have, and this one, so I'm a boy based on this is what I have. So you notice my son would be like, I want to grow up like daddy. Why? I want to grow my beard. And then sometimes he's like, he start talking with a deep voice, and I'll look at him and laugh.
Daddy.
So already at this age, he's having all kinds of ideas. And sometimes he says, oh, daddy, you smell good. What do you use? Can I have? So anytime or occasionally that the daddy applies a cologne, he's excited. These are all parts of what? Sex education. But you might not know that you are empowering the child in certain areas of his life that, oh, you need to be neat. You need to smell good. You need to even teach them, why do we use lemon? You might not use, you are too young for deodorant or something, but you can use natural things in our environment. So you are teaching the child to for self-grooming. These are all parts of sex education. Like Bryce said, the intercourse is the what? The last bit. That's the height of it. But there are other areas of your child in sex education that you can tackle before.
Adults, I mean, at a certain age, when you're an adult and you even become, you're married, they teach you how to even do that right.
I know, right?
So really, it doesn't end.
Yeah.
Of course.
So
it has to be age appropriate.
It's age appropriate. So the age appropriateness is where
key.
You sieve. Okay, I'm teaching you about personal grooming. I'm teaching you about the genitals. Then I'm teaching you about how to take care of it. And then I'm teaching you about menstruation. I'm teaching you about breaking of voice. I'm teaching you about the feelings you are having in you. You want to touch. The boys will start craving for body, like touching themselves, masturbation. It comes in. They hide and do it. But if you are a parent and you don't tackle this, the child will hide and do it and feel sorry for him or herself and still go back and do it again.
Yeah. Wow.
And what is happening is that it affects the emotional development of the child, and that child will not be confident enough to come out.
Great. Auntie Edith,
Yes.
before you come in, let me deal with this message. Someone says, Adam, if you say you want to tie in today's discourse with concerns in the public concerning comprehensive sexuality education, then I believe you're failing to see the point. Okay, what did I even say? If you listened to my intro, I did say that I wasn't going into that
Exactly.
argument. If
Yeah.
you've been listening to us, I am focusing on parents and what we have to do. I wanted to find out,
Joy
first of all,
99.7 FM.
if it's even important for us as parents to do it. We established that it was important, it was critical to the development of the children. Now we're talking about how should you do it. We agree it has to be age appropriate. Yes, it has to be comprehensive, it has to be holistic, but it will have to come in at stages. You can't pour everything in on the child. Sexuality education, we have all agreed again here that sex itself, the intercourse itself, is the height of it. And even when you get to that age that you will have to indulge in it, especially so for us in Home Affairs, we talk about it in the context of marriage. When you get to that point where you have to indulge in it, there is even still a lot more to learn. You know, so this conversation cannot end. It's a lifelong. For as long as you are alive, there are people who are old and still trying to find out why they have body odor. And I mean, I had a conversation with the men in the studio some time ago about grooming for men, and you'll be amazed at some of the things. And this is all part of your sexuality and development, and so it doesn't end. And the public isn't against sexual education at home or with children at home. How could we ever be against it? The public is against teaching 5-year-old children comprehensive sexuality. I think the word is the comprehensive.
The word
No,
comprehensive there.
But
even,
comprehensive-
even if it's comprehensive, what
It's
is wrong?
progressive.
It's progressive and
Exactly.
age
You
appropriate.
At every stage of the child,
Yes.
everything that you have to teach them must be comprehensive.
Exactly.
It's as simple as that.
A child's development is comprehensive.
And not to
even-
correct them. Do
yeah.
you know that even when I was in basic school, we were doing life skills. And these things were in the life skills studies.
they are.
So
Currently
sex
they are.
education has been with us
Exactly.
for over a decade.
Potty
Currently,
training,
yeah.
potty training a child. So when why is
part
it that
of
when
Mm.
it.
you have a 2-month-old baby, you don't potty train the 2-month-old baby?
That is it.
The child is wearing diapers. By the
it's
time the
age
child is getting to a
specific.
certain age,
Like 3
you are-
years, three
you are
and a half,
beginning
you
to
start
do-
introducing the
Oh,
potty
some people do potty
gradually.
training even before 3 years.
Exactly.
You know, you start introducing it at a certain age. You have to introduce solids to your child gradually. This is all at the end of the day. You're trying to build a comprehensive human being. If we should, so I think it is the word
But
comprehensive.
the interpretation of the word comprehensive is in context of that's what's creating the problem, because they feel that once it's a comprehensive sexual education, it's a package.
It's poured in
It's
at the
what
same
you are
time.
teaching for a 5-year-old child. I don't think that is a concept.
No, so
because
he
I
went
have
on.
even gone through. Okay.
He went
sorry.
on. He says, the public is against teaching 5-year-old children comprehensive sexuality. Understand that comprehensive sexuality education is telling a 5-year-old child how adults have sex. And then,
No.
oh,
No,
but
no,
please,
no.
I've stopped
Okay.
reading the message.
No.
I think this is coming.
No.
Yeah.
Read further, and say one of the
Panelists, no. I mean, I think
No,
that
no,
I mean,
no,
like,
no,
I think
no,
we should
no.
be very
No,
open-minded
yeah.
about this
Yeah.
conversation
Yeah.
and not be
For
too
me,
biased
I
about
will,
it.
I will
We should not.
encourage
Yes, Auntie.
listeners to go back and look at the comprehensive sexuality that is being introduced into the school. It's in models, and when you look at it, I think they need to appreciate it. For me, starting sexual education early is very important, especially when the child can talk. Because normally, before they get to that stage, we show them pictures in the classroom about their body parts. Why is it that we are not complaining about it? They tell you the head and all those things. So as a parent, you can't miss it. They come and ask questions. And when they ask, use that window of opportunity to link them into it, because it's very important. And for us, we haven't done well, because he talked about the father in our setting. We don't have sexual education at our work, the health system and all those things. But currently, because you realize there was a gap, and there have been a lot of adolescent issues and all this, we are trying to bridge that gap. So currently, I know the GES, in collaboration with the Ghana Health Service, is doing something on school health, where public health nurses, community health nurses visit the schools, talk to them about their sexuality and all those things. Grooming, when you're in your menses, what to do. At this age, these are the signs you see that telling you are grown. So if you need to have an interaction with the opposite sex, it's normal though, but it is not right for you to do it. They teach them on how to take care of their menses, especially the first menarche. You know, parents have failed. We haven't done that. So even for me, I learned it from school when I had my menarche to use the pad. Exactly. Because I saw older people using the pad.
I was fortunate to learn
exactly.
it from home.
Yes. So I saw older people using it. So I also put a pad in, expecting that was also in my menses.
Oh, how?
Exactly. Because I was so eager to get to that stage.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yes. But currently, what we have done, put in place also is that during pregnancy, we have introduced these pregnancy schools where mothers are specific maturity of the pregnancy are taken through schools before they deliver. So we are breaching that gap now, even though we failed in that aspect.
Yeah, I've spent some time to go through that.
Very well.
And seriously, if you attend those classes, I decided to pass through to look at how
It's
they
done.
even
The
package
packaging,
it.
yeah.
But most of it
Yeah.
is when a woman is pregnant, how they should relate with their husband.
Oh, no.
I
have the content. I have the content.
Probably maybe that particular
I have
day,
the content.
that was the subject. You know, and for me,
Exactly.
it was one day though. It
was
wasn't
one
the
day.
continuous
Oh,
thing.
so
So,
So you didn't have the
so-
full grip of it.
Right, that day, that's what
Yeah,
they were
that was
teaching
what
that
they
day.
were teaching.
probably. So I will not go further with it. I will not go
Exactly.
further with
So
it.
it's very
Exactly.
well. Yes.
But
So
yeah, I did it.
yeah,
finish.
so we have packaged content in a way that will suit the mother from pregnancy, the things she goes through when she's going to deliver, the signs of true labor and all those after delivery, how to take care of the child. And that's the essence of attending antenatal and then postnatal care and even child welfare clinics. So it starts right from there and continues. And for now, public health nurses are championing these issues because we realize there's a gap. So the role of the public health nurses in reproductive health, and soon we are going to have our annual general conference next week in Ho, and these are some of the issues we're going to talk about. We've piloted a lot of programs and in the various communities, so this is where we are coming from. We all appreciate that there's a gap, both parenting and as a health system, so we are trying to bridge that gap.
Auntie Edith is always very excited about these things. But then our time is so up. After here, I'll meet up with my guests to find out. Next week, what we want to do is we'll have another session on this conversation. But this time, I'll open the phone lines and listen to parents as well to find out really, really, really what we can do. We're giving this silent conversation a voice. Finally, from you, Sefam.
Okay, so I think another fear.
Sefam, you have just about a minute.
Another fear for parents is the comprehensive nature, meaning that everything about sex is going to be out
Packaged
there
and given to the
for the
child
children.
once.
So and about same-sex marriages, sex. So that is the fear that parents are worried about.
Okay.
But I've studied a document from England, sex education, and you notice that for them, they also have issues with that. However, they've made provision to say that you have the ability to take your child out of class when that particular discussion about same-sex marriage is going on. And even in their documents, they are not telling you to tell the children that it is good, but you are telling them that there are other forms of sexuality in the system.
And that's what we don't want.
Yeah.
They are just because it is there, whether you talk about it or not.
No, but the problem
It
is
is
that our
there.
children are not in crisis. So they are not
in
crisis to determine
Oh, okay.
where they belong when it comes to their sexual.
Yeah,
I've worked with a number of children, so that is for me where the issue is. Because if you look at the policy that have been developed by Ghana Education Service, clearly there's nothing wrong with some of the things, but it's just the description of words
Very well.
that for me they have to take into consideration. And I think that the group that is spearheading this kind of all these things, I'm talking about a comprehensive, is because of the description of words. And when it gets to the gender aspect, with the Ghana Education Service must review that aspect, because for me, our children are not in crisis to determine which sex they belong to. They know the two, and that is what they have selected. So we should not try as much as possible to confuse them. Let them be in their lane, and that for me, that's what I would say.
There
in
should be
respect to
some
this.
engagement.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Joy
Exactly.
Parents and all
99.7
those
That is
other
what is causing
stakeholders.
Yeah.
So-
yes,
so
exactly.
That's it's nothing.
For now.
The conversation is ongoing. Different sectors will have different angles to the conversation. But like I said, on Home Affairs, our purpose will be to focus this mostly in the home, situate it in the home, and see what your contribution, what my contribution is to making sure that our children have the right development when it comes to sexuality. Next week, we'll make time to listen to parents, guardians, caregivers, everybody who is concerned about children, but as much as possible would want to discuss this in the context of what we parents can do. If you're afraid, your child will definitely go to school. But there's saying, charity begins at home.
Yeah.
So whatever it is that if you are unable to inculcate that into your child from home, that's when you're very, very, very afraid. Because whatever it is that you do, that child will be out anyway. And so if you are afraid or you're shying away from it from home, then you don't have any business making noise about what's happening out there.
Yeah.
So we want to begin from home and do what is right.
Exactly.
But before we go, again, if you missed it, obia when it tastes, I'm telling you, your favorite food, whatever it is, be it authentic Ghana jollof, delicious light soup or that special stew your family and friends love you for, give it a touch with the new Gino Max 12-gram seasoning cubes with 3 varieties. Gino Max shrimp with herb and spices, that's one. Gino Max shrimp or Gino Max shrimp with pepper, obia when it tastes. Gino Max seasoning cubes, that's a flavor to satisfy everyone. Gino truly cares. My name is Adam Naitite. Thank you, Daniela. Thank you, Dennis, for coming through this morning. Daniela, thank you very much for production. Charlie, you're super. Next week, we'll continue with the conversation. And thank you, Sefam, Bright, and Auntie Edith. God bless you. Enjoy your weekend. But come through Junction Mall today, tomorrow. Joy at the Mall. We are there. The whole team is there. Come hang out with us. There's food bazaar, bikes and screech. Yeah. Tomorrow there'll be about 300 bikes invading the mall, to do stunts and all that. Come have a look at the food bazaar, giveaways. People who shopped in the mall, the month of September, you're likely to get your money back, everything you spent. So come by and let's have a lot of fun this weekend. My name is Adam Naitite. See you next week. Bye.
Oh, yeah, when it tastes, though. Cooking for my family can be